to the Making Awesome podcast. This is season 3, episode 6. Just making sure that we are live. Let me know if you guys can see me. I can see myself, so I guess the answer is yes. I apologize for the slight technical delay. I messed something up, obviously. Uh, I. I upgraded monitors recently, and I went from 22-inch 1080p monitors that I've had since 2014 up to 27-inch 1440p. And apparently, all the OBS stuff that I put together that looks all pretty and all of that, didn't save when I restarted my computer. So, you know. Worse, Peter, I am a calling me a horologist is honestly shaming the industry of people that actually know what the hell they're doing. I just like fixing clocks. But we're going to be talking all about growth and what that looks like, and really kind of preparing for emergency projects. It's something that has come up heavily in 3D Musketeers this past week. In fact, we had 4 individual emergency jobs just this week. Last week, we had no emergency jobs. This coming week, we have none currently. But this week, we had 4. We had 4 separate clients that needed emergency parts as quickly as humanly possible. And, yeah. Dan says, I see you just started a Prusa in the back, slight difficulty. That machine has been running since before I started the stream. It was just heating up. But the white prints you see in the back, those ones there, and this is another one. This is actually part of one of the rush jobs. This is for an architect locally that needed over 150 hours of 3D printing done in less than 3 days. Now, I'd like to point out that's a lot of printing in a very short amount of time. But that's the value of having extra machines. Now, I tout constantly how we have 40 3D printers, right? Technically, not all of them actually function, but we do own them. So I don't know, it makes the numbers sound better. But I think in terms of functioning printers, we have somewhere in the 30s, probably mid to low 30 range. And yes, Zombie Hedgehog, that was what I was printing on MakerDeck for 49 hours. This is the exact one that was printed on MakerDeck. You can see it's a, let me see if I can get this right. There you go. That's how it will be for the final product for the client. It's an architectural building. Thankfully, they have agreed to accept the parts raw, where I don't need to remove any support material, any of the brim, deal with any of that, because I cut them a killer deal to not have to do all of that work. And let me be clear, each of these parts was at least 24 hours, if not considerably longer than that, with the biggest ones being almost 53 hours. And yes, 5 machines would do it on time, assuming you have no failures, assuming that you're not already busy, assuming that your normal workflow doesn't somehow mess with things. Accounting for those emergency orders and then also knowing how to price them is really important. At the same time, we were doing emergency parts for a Boston Dynamics spot robot because, I get to go play with one of those in a couple of weeks, and I'm kind of excited for that. I will film, but I don't know when we will be able to, release it. It'll be under embargo for a little bit, at least until something's clear. It might be a very long time until I can show that footage. But yeah, we're going to be basically making custom parts for one, which is pretty cool. I said, so they have interns. I don't know. Oh, cool. Someone's calling the company. Oh, look, it's a spam call. Love that. God, if I had a nickel for every spam call I got every single day, I would be a rich man. We get at least 30 to 40 spam calls a day into the company. Anyways. Oh, that's right. Worse, Peter says so they have interns. Yeah, you're talking about the support removal and cleanup. Yeah, let's put it this way. I spent the better part of 2 days working with one of their designers to clean up the Revit model that they started with and end up with a model that is reasonably printable. But that's unfortunately how this works sometimes. We deal with projects that aren't necessarily designed for 3D printing, and at the last moment, it is decided that, okay, we're going to 3D print this. Need I remind you, that is very complicated, very expensive, and it, well, is stressful for all parties involved, mine especially, because I'm the one that has to effectively verify that the machines aren't going to fail. Hilariously, the carbon fiber parts that we were running did fail. I have the failures over here. I actually showed one of them off in Print Fix Friday. Here's the other one. Actually, I technically showed them both off in Print Fix Friday, where my roll of carbon fiber PETG that I had sharpied on carbon fiber nylon, and I'm like, there's no way this is carbon fiber nylon. It's snapping like PETG, was also definitely carbon fiber nylon, and it was just definitely wet. Then we do carbon fiber PETG. The parts look beautiful. It just jammed. So that was interesting because dealing with those part failures meant that we were pushed in terms of our deadlines. And when you only have a few printers that you can trust to do this work, you do find yourself in a bit of a pickle. Every single part that we had that was a rush job this week necessitated to be on a Mark 3S. They were too big to fit on the minis, and none of the other printers in the shop I really trust to do last-minute jobs. We have 9 Prusa Mark 3Ss with only 8 of them being utilized currently in the farm. One of them is currently actually below the standing set table, waiting for a Quinley upgrade. So that'll be a live stream eventually. I don't know, man. It's been busy around here, and I feel like I've gotten no freaking work done. We are going to talk about imposter syndrome at some point. That'll be a podcast topic. I'm going to try to get on a therapist or someone that we can, kind of go back and forth with, because I am decidedly not the right person to do that, but, whatever. Anyways, Duff says he approves of my shirt. Yes, this is an LDO Motors shirt. Got this from the East Coast Rep Festival. I figure if I can get in Jason's good graces, he might let me keep my car. That is a really bad Fast and Furious reference. But, you feel me. I don't know. It was there. I'm like, oh, LDO Motors, gotta wear it. Because you really only see, like, the top part of my shirt in these videos anyways, so gotta rock the LDO Motors when you can. Anyways, yeah, so there's a lot of support here. Each of these pieces, like this one's the lightest of the 3 multi-day prints. This one is 700 grams printed. So quite a bit of weight, and you guys can see there is a lot of support material on it. And this one actually has the least amount of support material out of all of them, which is kind of crazy. Kind of very crazy, actually. But it saved them close to $1,000, because I quoted the amount of time that I would need to clean these parts up at about 12 hours. Now, I can do it in less. I know for a fact that I can do it in less. But if I don't book out 12 hours worth of time, somebody else is going to get in my way, and I'm going to end up having to rush. And rushing means you make mistakes. So they were very happy to take the pretty significant discount and do the work themselves. So, that's how it goes sometimes. But Power Sprouter, I think, is asking, I'm wondering if the new XL will be a game changer if it ever ships. Yeah, I think it will be. While I do like tool changers and multi-material machines, I believe tool changing is the right way to do it. Machines like the Bamboo or the MMU for the Prusa Mark 3S, I don't think do multi-material very well because you deal with temperature variances. One of the big things being your soluble support material. In a project like this, having soluble supports would be so freaking amazing because you just dunk the part in water with a little bit of lye mixed in, and those PVA supports will just melt right off, and you go on, and it's no big deal. Instead, somebody is going to spend quite a few hours with some pliers, pulling all the support off, and then gluing the parts together. And let me be clear, they cut the parts up. I did not do this. I would have cut the parts in different orientations and different ways, but they wanted this very specifically cut like this, so I told them to cut it themselves and just send me the files the way that they wanted. It actually worked out okay. There is the value in that. But to give you guys an idea, had we had one print failure, one, on one of these big parts, we would not have made the deadline. To add insult to that injury, the material that we use is currently not available. I have 4 kilos of it laying around. I needed 3.5 to do this job. So if we had a part failure, we were going to have a color differential, which means it needs to go into paint. So when you look at that from a perspective of a business, it becomes very stressful. And don't get me wrong, I could probably find some locally if I really needed to. I could call my buddies. It's like, hey, I need a kilo of this. I will give you $100. I just need the kilo. And they'd probably sell it to me. But it becomes a problem when you have last-minute jobs. The material is out of stock at the normal, let's call it the usual suspects, if you will, the Jeff Bezoses of the world and all that. And my preferred material, which would be printed solids design white, I am fresh out of stock. I have less than 1 kilogram left, and I could not get it fast enough. I called up Printed Solid. I called Dustin. I said, hey, how fast can you get me 5 kilos of design white? I don't care what it's going to cost me. How fast can you get it? And he said, I've got 4. Can you work with 4? I said, I really need 5. He's like, I can't get you 5. He said, I can ship it to you overnight, but you're still going to look at minimum it gets to you on Friday. And if it got to me on Friday and I have to do 150 hours of printing by later this afternoon, we've got ourselves a problem. So we had to work with what we had. And that brings up an inventory thing to talk about. I will say architecture projects don't come very often anymore. We were certified in the AIA as an allied member, which allowed us to do business direct with AIA businesses and all that. It's the American Institute of Architects. And it was an interesting problem because they all pretty much instantly, within like the first year that we were allied members, transitioned away from making physical models and went to doing VR models, which I totally get. Like, intrinsically, I totally get why they would do that. Because you can just put on goggles, and if they don't like the color of the wall, you can just use the hand-controlled doodads and change the freaking colors right there. And that is so valuable for someone. But I guess there are still people that want the traditional method, but this is a model that would have been way too complicated to make it functionally traditionally. It had to be made with a little bit of new school cool, if you will. Oh, Geek Tourbox says Grant, ask Nick. Nick from Polymaker, is that who you're asking? Hilariously, this is actually all Polyterra Cloud White. It's all that I had laying around. That was white. Dan says, my first rule in-house is I never, ever leave a machine broken. As soon as it fails, I take care of it. Better to stay there standing collecting dust if not needed instead of not working when needed. And Ostrike says, I admire your discipline to Dan. I do too. We come to a point where we don't normally need all 9 printers. I have used all 9 Prusas at once with the 4 minis at once to do a job for a client. Again, an emergency job that was an overnight job that had, it's like 80 something hours. It was the liquid nitrogen lollipop or liquid nitrogen popsicle project that had something like 80 hours of printing or 90 hours of printing that needed to be done in like 12 hours. So you just stand up every single machine that you have. You don't have a choice. You have to do it. And speaking of upgrading machines, I got some fun things in the mail. Some Prusa edition Revo 6s that we're going to be upgrading some of the machines behind me. Because boy, howdy, was I wishing that a couple of those machines had Revos on them as I was doing some prints. Because we put a 0.6 diamond nozzle on this printer behind me that I'm pointing at. It's the one that's the signed Prusa for those that are listening audio only. That's our diamond printer. It normally carries a 0.4 Diamondback diamond nozzle, but I put a 0.6 on it because, again, we had an emergency job for those parts for the Spot Dog, and because of it, I need to have better like clarity that we're going to succeed, and that means running a fatter nozzle so that you don't potentially clog it. all of these problems run into what growth looks like and how it directly affects your business. Are you making bad noises back there? I'm watching you. Sometimes you get weird noises. Oh, Friday Nick. Yes! Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, yes. I need to get Nick to talk about imposter syndrome. Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh. Now, mind you, personally, when machines fail, and let's say it's like a clogged nozzle, I just replace the nozzle. I'm not even going to bother. I have a little container full of clogged nozzles, and once in a blue moon, I take them out, put them in the bench vise, and just torch them until I can push the clog through. But it's also why I prefer to run diamond nozzles on a lot of the printers that do run materials that have a tendency to clog, because you can use acupuncture needles on them without damaging the nozzles. It's kind of insane. But yes, thank you, Dom. Appreciate that. Dan says he only has 7 machines and he hopes the XL ships soon. I would not bet on the XL shipping soon. I'm sorry. I wouldn't. But I did see it at the East Coast Rap Festival. We will have more B-roll of it in Wednesday's video. That is coming up because Wednesday's video is going to be day 2. Thank you, Ostrike, for the $10 super chat. When it doesn't have to work the first time, I don't reapply glue stick to the usually textured PEI bed, but I'm strict about fingerprints. Do you solvent clean every time, reapply glue every time? We don't use glue. The only time that we use glue is when we are printing polycarbonate, and the only reason that I would use glue for polycarbonate is so that it doesn't weld itself to the PEI build plate. I find that, and you'll see it in the back of my videos. Grant, point at it backwards, right there, Windex. Wipe the beds down with Windex. It's bloody stupid, but it works. Every single time we use Windex. I do use glue on the Fusion 3 up there, but hilariously, I reapply the glue about once a month. We don't run that printer all that much. It's only used to run like big parts that don't fit on the Prusas, but it does now have a 0.6. I have a 0.4, 0.6, and 0.8 Diamondback Volcano nozzle for it, so I might be using it more often just to mess around with the Volcano, because I have a theory that that is going to cut down on the problem that that machine has, which is a 1 meter long Bowden tube, which is stupid. It's way too damn long. But if it was a mission critical job and I was using glue stick for some reason, I would go ahead and reapply it. It takes 3 seconds to reapply, and if that means that I guarantee success, or at least get much closer, or remove one particular problem from being an issue, then I will. We actually run... we stream to Maker Deck pretty much whenever we're running the time-lapse printer. And I laugh because was it the Thursday? Yeah, the Thursday time-lapse, for some reason, did not save to my camera's memory card, which is like right there. There's the DSLR camera that runs the time-lapses, but it streamed to Maker Deck, which I laughed at, because and that part came out really good. That would have been a dope time-lapse. I am salty about that. But normally when we do jobs that are emergencies, they normally come with non-disclosures. Hilariously, I said to the architecture firm, hey, because of the timeline, I have to run the time-lapse printer. Do you want a time-lapse of it? I'll just give you the photos. You guys can use whatever you want for it. And oh yeah, that printer's set up to stream live to the internet. Do you want it streamed live to the internet? And the guy's like, well, yeah, that is kind of cool. Where do you stream? And I told him about Maker Deck, and we had like a 20-minute talk about Maker Deck, and why it is pretty awesome. And he's like, he texted me, he was getting on a plane to go to Puerto Rico, my contact. He texted me, he said, dude, that is some of the coolest thing that I've ever seen. I've seen 3D printers work before, but I've never seen an army of 3D printers, and our parts are just one of them. He said, that is so cool. I'm absolutely going to have it open on a monitor from now on. So 1, I can see what you're up to, but 2, see what other people are doing as well. He has a Frozen Sonic 4K. He didn't know if it was the mini or the mega. So I asked him if it was a big one or a small one. He doesn't remember because it is back home for him. But it was pretty cool to talk to someone that does also do 3D printing. And I said, this is your fault. If you knew this was going to be 3D printing, you're the one that should fix it. He said, yeah, I am the one fixing it. I wasn't the one that designed it. So we laughed about it. Zombie says, what is Maker Deck? And that's a bot response. That's fair. That is totally fair. Let's see. Okay, so Zombie asked that I mainly print PLA. No, I don't. Normally we actually print in PETG way more often than PLA, but it really does depend on what the client is looking for. For the Boston Dynamics parts, or the Spot Dog parts, they wanted carbon fiber PETG or better. Hilariously, one of their parts was carbon fiber nylon, and I didn't know until it was done. It did require me to sand the part to get rid of all the little zits and crap that were left from the wet nylon. And the nylon is still drying in the dryer above me. It's up there. But it was still a good experience because, well, they got to get parts that they technically didn't pay for at a higher material. They paid for PETG. They didn't pay for nylon. I made the mistake. That's on me, not on them. Let's see. I don't use carbon fibers as much as I want to, mainly because a lot of people are not really willing to pay for the premium, and most carbon fiber materials do not give you any extra strength. In fact, it's less strength than you would get with regular materials. So that's weird, because you're basically subtracting plastic in exchange for long strand fiber if you're getting good carbon fiber. But because there's no resin or any, woven texture or nature to it, you don't deal with that. We are going to be testing out PETG raw instead of carbon fiber with this client coming soon. So I'm actually going to be making another one of their parts, bringing it out to them when I see them in a couple of weeks, and we're going to abuse it and see what happens. If the part breaks, no big deal. If it doesn't break, cool. We can print it for them at a more affordable price, faster, more efficiently, and more easily. Those are all things that I like. Yeah, let me know in the comments, guys, what you all print in. Dom says he uses PETG most of the time. Zombie asks, what reasons would I normally use PETG over PLA for general prints? PETG, I live in Florida. For those that don't know, I live in Tampa, Florida, and that means that we have a heat problem. And even though it is 77 degrees or 24°C out currently at 1:25 p.m. on Ruger Day, 10/22 of 2022, it is still going to get stupid hot inside of your car. And my car that has black interior means it has heated seats, but only during the summer. And it will routinely get well above 140 degrees Fahrenheit inside of vehicles here in Florida. And, well, that's a problem if you are putting PLA in your car, because it will get soft, it will get melty, and you will have problems. PETG is generally okay as long as you don't use black or a material with a lot of pigment in it. If you're going to be doing functional parts, a lot of times we will try to go with ABS or ASA, but hilariously, I prefer to print in carbon fiber polycarbonate or carbon fiber nylon before I prefer to print in ABS or ASA, simply because I hate the smell of the styrene-based plastics. You do see the PETG does have better impact resistance. Son of a gun, the company phone is ringing again. Another spam caller. I don't get it. I don't get on a Saturday why I'm getting spam calls. The spam call centers are normally closed on the weekends. Oh well. If they do leave a message, I'll call them back. But yeah, dealing with these emergency orders can be very complicated for businesses. The issue that we deal with is if you don't have open printers and let's say you need 7 printers and you have 7 printers and you get an order that could be, let's say it's a $2,000 order. It's, a couple hundred hours worth of printing. They need it very, 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 very fast. And if you had availability on your machines, you could get it done, but you don't. And that means you have to say no to the job. If you had a few extra machines, even if they were sitting and collecting dust, which sometimes is what occurs. If you guys don't see the printers running behind me, I always run the printers behind me first, right? Because they're the ones on the video. So if they're not running, we don't have any work. So yeah, hilariously, there isn't any work right now. It is the 4 rush jobs, and now that they're done, the queue is clear. We don't get a lot of work over the weekends, which is a bummer because that's when I can easily run jobs. But hey, it is what it is. Dom says /me looks up Grant's number. Dom, please don't call the shop. Dom, don't you have my personal cell phone number? Why would you call the shop? But yeah, PETG will yield before it snaps. Polycarbonate is good too. But if I can avoid running exotics, even carbon fibers, right? I don't like running carbon fibers in the event of a, part emergency. Normally speaking, at any given time, we need between 7 and 8 3D printers. Everything else is either like machines I've gotten for the channel. We have a bunch of resin printers. So a lot of times, half the resin printers are sitting because no one wants that color or that material isn't being used right now. But I'll tell you the big stuff that we use often, the Soraya Tech Blue and the Soraya Tech Fast Gray, those are in the Saturns because those are the pieces that get asked for a lot. So that's what we run a lot. The rest of them are Elegoo Marses. And if people want parts from them, great. If the printers sit, I don't care because I've paid for them. They don't cost me anything to sit there. That's something to take into account. If you've got the space, have more than you need. Great example. We have 11 resin 3D printers because I have 10 printers and 1 spare. If one of the OG Elegoo Marses, let's say the screen dies, it's the OG Mars with not a mono screen, a regular LCD screen. If we have a screen die, I'm not fixing it. I am going to take the printer off of the line. I'm going to go grab the one that's in the box. I'm going to set it down. I'm going to level it. I'm going to take the flash drive from the bad printer, put it in the good one, even move the build plate and everything, click print, and then I'm going to walk away. Because the value of being able to turn and burn is very, very important. If I have to sit there and, like who was it? Who said this earlier? Dan. Like Dan was saying, if I just instantly changed out the screen and did all that, I'm like 3 hours down. Because, honestly, if I'm going to change a screen, I'm going to do it on camera. We're going to make a video out of it. Instead, for me, it's a lot easier to say, hey, staff members that are local, who wants a resin printer? You just need to replace the screen. Go buy your own screen. Here's a free printer. It's not worth my time. They're $250 printers. An hour of my time, I bill at $150, okay? If I have to spend more than an hour changing a screen, I will just buy another printer. And I will give it away. I will give it away to one of our local staff members, or I will give it to the local makerspace. If I do give it to the local makerspace, I do include a screen with it. So I will include a replacement screen. Those are like $40-$50. And then I get a tax write-off as well. I get to have a tax donation. So there's a benefit to doing that. But, I'd let our local staff get first pick of it, and then it goes to local makerspaces. But of course, if it goes to local makerspaces, it comes with the parts. If it goes to the staff, they can buy the parts. They're smart enough. Sometimes makerspaces aren't always staffed with the best individuals, but the local ones that we do support are pretty freaking awesome. Shout out to the Amrock Fab Lab at Rhythm in Uptown, formerly the University Mall in Tampa, Florida, and shout out to Tampa Hackerspace. Both of you guys are freaking awesome, and I love being able to support you when I can. Geek Toy Box asks for any tips on ASA. Haven't printed it before. Prusa says satin sheet is good for it. No glue or anything required. I just print everything on smooth sheets. I have satin sheets. I've talked about the fact that I haven't used them yet, and I got roasted for it. And rightfully so. I get it. I should use the satin sheets. You spent the money on them. Use them. But this goes back to, as a business, I care about perfection. I care about things working. I care about continual, reliable, measurable, predictable results. And if I change over to a new build plate and I don't really have the time to mess around with it with all my different materials, I don't have an expectation of how it's going to perform. So in the event that somebody needs an ASA print last minute, and unfortunately I haven't really spent a lot of time with the satin sheet and I just run ASA on it and it does poorly, I've now screwed myself. Even further, since it is a styrene-based plastic, make sure that you put it in an enclosure. And as Zombie Hedgehog says, resin is toxic. Yeah, I don't like ABS or ASA. It stinks. It's a really, really bad smell. If you've ever had burning plastic, you know the smell. And for the love of God, stay away from fire retardant materials unless you can print outside or in a garage. Because, oh my God, they smell so bad. Anyways. It does become an issue when we look at emergency projects, right? Dealing with growth is actually pretty simple, right? You grow the business in steps, you get machines as you can afford them, as you need them, you bring them in, and you attempt to predict your cycles. Historically speaking, every end of quarter and every end of semester are very, very busy times for us. October starts Q4, right? Yeah. October starts Q4, which is normally supposed to be a dead time for us, except October is the one month where things are different. We have Halloween, which people want a lot of cosplay parts for, and Q4 starts when companies are like, crap, we have a budget that we have to burn. Let's start looking for people to spend that money with. So Q4 for us is normally where we make most of our money during the year. It's just the way that it goes. The big thing with service-based businesses, and if you run a maker business, chances are it's a service-based business, you deal with what is called feast and famine, waxes and wanes. It's the cyclical nature of your business. Some weeks you need 90 printers, and some weeks you don't need any. And there's no good way to just, go out to the store and rent a printer for a few weeks and then give it back. There's no good way to do that. And while there are companies that do hardware as a service, or HAS, or Haas, I guess, if you want to upset the Gene Haas Foundation and Haas CNC machines. But they do yearly systems. Now, I have found someone that will rent me a Markforged Mark II by the month to month, but they want $1,500 a month. And oh yeah, it's a $3,000 deposit. That is a very, very expensive month-to-month lease when those printers are only 20 grand. So if you use it for more than a year, you've basically paid for it, and you still don't own it. So this comes into a point of, when is it the right time to spend the money? We talked about this prior, in that it is best to outsource the jobs you can't do. In a situation like this, had we not had the throughput, had I not had the time, I would have called up local people that I know that have printers. Say, hey, you got Prusa's, right? Yep. Okay, I've got some jobs. Do you have this material? No? Okay, here's a kilo of it. Can you run this for me? I'll send you the G-code as long as your printers are well tuned. I just need a picture of your first layer to make sure it looks good. And as long as you've done no mods to your printers, they'll run fine. And I'll send them raw G-code. Tell them to run it. We've done that before. In fact, I've talked about it when we were doing a bust. Do I have the bust handy? I don't. We had to do a bunch of miniature busts for an individual for his 75th birthday. I think he's 80 now. It's been a minute since we did that job. And we actually dealt with an issue that I hate. We ordered material from Amazon. That's when we were still buying from Amazon. We didn't really have great vendors at the time. We were buying material from Amazon. I ordered 4 kilos total, 2 separate orders, a day apart from each other, and each of them paid for overnight shipping. That's back when you could easily pay for it. Amazon shipped them together and lost the box. And it culminated in me touring an Amazon facility at 11 o'clock at night to find my box. Because, well, I'm determined and I'm a shareholder. And when you are a shareholder, you have access to certain information that the general public doesn't. Like higher-ups and how to reach them. Yeah. It becomes a problem when you are reliant on other companies for you to succeed. And that's why I would verify that people have the machines, have the availability, and I would give them G-code. Because if I let them slice it, they might use different settings than me. I will just give them G-code, and if they want to pull my settings out of the G-code, by all means, go ahead. I don't care. My goal is to make the client happy. If I happen to give a competitor of mine a bit of an upper hand, too bad. If I lose a job, not only am I responsible for telling the client, I'm responsible for somehow finding a solution for them, and I will certainly lose the client for any future work. You have to remember what your opportunity cost is of saying no. If you had a job that was $50, say it's a $50 print, it's going to take you most of the day, and someone called you and said, hey, I need a print from you. I need it overnight, and I will give you $400 to do it. You only have one printer, so you have to choose, do you take $400 and run this print overnight, or do you say no because your printer is already running? You have to decide how you're going to break the news to the $50 client that things are going to take a little bit longer while you kill their print and run the one for the person overnight. That's called opportunity cost. The opportunity cost of saying no is missing out on $400. The opportunity cost of saying yes is talking to your current client and letting them know that there's going to be a delay. Now, you can do this a few different ways. You can be honest and say, hey, we had an emergency order come in that is a lot of money, and I hate to push your job, but I need the money. They might understand it. They might call you an asshole, and you might lose that customer. But if you lose a $50 customer and you gain a $400 customer, you're up $350 as far as I'm concerned. Or you could say you had a print failure. A lot of people that deal with 3D printing understand that print failures occur. And I think that's one of the easier ways. Yes, that means you're lying to a customer. Oh my God, businesses do it all the time. Like, legitimately, businesses do it all the time. If you can keep both customers, delay one of them for a day or two, I think that's a win. And while word of mouth, like Duff says, can be valuable to you, I think solving someone's problem for overnight is more valuable than dealing with someone that might be totally okay with getting it the next day anyways. Run the overnight part, then rerun their part. Or see if you can figure out if you can speed up the prints, get the $50 part done, and then immediately run the $400 part. Or you plan ahead for things like this and say, well, I'm a business, I should have overflow machines. If I needed to, I could turn on our overflow machines. There's a CR10v3 clone, there's that Ender 3v2 that I use for the channel, and there's some other Ender style clones. I could cut parts up and put them on the minis if I really wanted to. There are ways to solve this, and all of it means being able to have overflow. See, to me, you should never find yourself in that situation where you need to tell the $50 customer, I'm sorry, I can't help you. What you should do is have a spare printer or be able to manage this order. If you called up your buddy that lives down the road that has a 3D printer, says, hey, can I borrow your printer for the night? I'll give you $100. You might be able to make $300 instead of $400 and solve both people's problems. That, to me, is the real win. Now, I don't think have I ever lied to a client about that stuff? No, literally, actually, we had a part delay this week because an emergency, the carbon fiber parts took longer than expected because they failed, and that meant that I had to delay a client. So I called them and said, hey, we had a problem. We have an emergency order that came in and it kept failing on me. That means your part's going to be delayed a little bit. Is that okay? And they said, yep. That's fine. No big deal. I said, I'll cover the shipping. They said, you don't need to do that. I said, no, I do. I feel as though, I'm making you wait a little bit. If nothing else, let me cover the shipping for you. And they said, okay, I appreciate that. And that was it. Their job's been done. It was shipped out yesterday. But it's one of those cases of, I find a lot of times it's easier to be real with people and be kind. I told them that I could run it on a different printer, but I can't guarantee the quality that comes off of it. I can guarantee the quality comes off of Prusa's because they just work. And I know they're not fast. I know they're not perfect. But they work. And that value to a business is more than I can really properly depict to you guys. Let me see. Zombie says, their print failed if you hit cancel. Technically, that's true. But it's a, particular fail. Ostrich says, if your settings are your only upper hand, you are in trouble anyway. That's right. We do have really good settings for the Prusas. They're fast, they're reliable, they're consistent. But I will say there are people out there locally that do better quality prints than me. But they don't have the throughput that we can do. Sure, I can cut the speed on the Prusas way down and destroy their quality. But a lot of times our clients are paying for speed. And they recognize that there is a downside to speed, which is you lose quality. Anyone that's had a Bamboo Lab X1 Carbon will know the faster you run those printers, the less layer adhesion you have because you're physically cooling the layers so fast they don't have enough time to bond to each other. Something to be aware of. Like Pascal Godin saying, under promise and over deliver. They usually give a time estimate and a margin of error. Then they either have an issue and deliver on time or deliver sooner and look boss. Totally agree. And we do the same thing, right? I told this architecture client that the parts would be ready late this afternoon, barring any failures. If we had any failures, the parts would be ready on Monday. Monday is their drop day. If they did not have the parts by Monday, they did not want the parts because they had, I said, let me guess, you have a meeting some point later on in the week. He said, that is correct. I said, okay, I will have these done first thing Monday morning. And if all goes well, I will have them done late Saturday afternoon. I had a phone call with the person who's coming to pick them up at about 10 a.m. this morning saying, hey, parts are done. They're ready to go. They said, well, can I come out? I said, where are you located? They were like an hour and a half-ish away. I said, well, that's going to get very close to my live stream. If you are willing to kind of leave basically right now, we can meet or we can meet afterwards. She said, oh, actually, afterwards makes way more sense for me. I said, okay, cool. So they're coming out right after we're done with the stream. Quite frankly, they might even be watching. Hi, if you are. And it's these emergency products that sparked this talk because it's not something that most people know how to deal with. It was funny because timeline-wise, none of these should have worked. But knowing how to put jobs on what printers and where to do it is what makes things work properly. Like Winslow Joy saying capacity printing. Do you compile stats on failure rates of components? Sometimes. I don't know if it's a great solution to have a hot standby machine available and then use that capacity and a failure. We compile stats for failures on the hardware. Things like print beds, hot ends, nozzles, rails, rods, bearings. I compile stats for that. I know that if I don't re-lubricate my Prusas once every 2 weeks if they're running hard and once a month if they're running a little bit easier, we will destroy bearings every single time. I keep, how many sets of smooth rods and bearings do I have in stock? I have another spam call coming in. God, that's the third one. We have, I think it's 3, if not 4 sets of smooth rods and bearings for Prusas in stock. Because it is a known wear item. It is known that there are some softer rods out there, and I don't know if I have them or not. I will say we run our bearings until they seize, until there are noticeable print problems. If the printers are a little bit louder, but I don't see any degradation in print quality, we're running them till they die. And if it does start to see some print quality reduction, I will grab a pair of pliers and just rotate the bars a little bit. That'll give you another smooth surface to run on and will keep you from having to basically maintain them more often. Now, that is not the right way to do it. You should just replace the rod as soon as you get a flat spot. But a lot of times, I don't have that kind of time. That's a multi-hour job to do. And I would much rather say, we're going to take the entire farm down for one day, replace all the X-axis rods and bearings on all of the printers, rather than one at a time. If I can make them last longer, why wouldn't I? Stuart McClund says, it's amazing how managing your customers' expectations with good dialogue removes problems from the get-go. This is true. A lot of issues with emergency and rush jobs all come down to actually talking about what the hell the needs are. Initially, this architecture client said they needed the parts by Friday. I said, I'm sorry, that's not realistic. When is your meeting with your client? Because clearly it's happening very soon. When is your meeting with your client? How can I help you make that happen? They said, well, the meeting is X day. I don't really want to give out too much information because it's not right. Well, they said it's X day. I said, okay, so you really need the parts in hand by first thing Monday morning. I said, because if I get them to you late Friday versus early Monday, no one's working on these over the weekend, right? They said, no, yeah, they're going to sit over the weekend. I said, okay, well, I work throughout the weekend. So if I had the extra time over the weekend to do the parts and I cut you a better deal, is that valuable to you? They said, yes. I said, what if I cut you a deal where you remove the support and the brims and all of that, and I don't have to do any of it? They said, how much of a deal? I said, here's your price. Here's your price if I don't have to do any work. They took the one where they do the work. It was almost $1,000 in savings. Because, yeah, it was going to ruin my weekend. It's going to ruin all. I have so much work to do. I have like just around the house things I need to clean up and deal with because I've been so focused on the business and recovering from IRF that it just hasn't been great. And no, I did not get sick at IRF. It's the physical issues with the back and all of that that were my problem. Winslow Joy says spare parts stock is the difference between downtime of hours or days. I agree. If you are running a business or you want to run a business, as Pooch says, taking your hobby to your jobby, I recommend that you have a box of spare parts. In fact, I just brought in, how many bins did I just bring in? 16 bins. 16 bins, and I will post the link to them. They were on sale for half of what they are right now. Let me post the link so you guys can see. I bought 16 of these bins total, so I think it was 8 sets. Those are the bins that I bought. And they're just, little part storage containers. Those were a great deal. That's less than $8 each, which is phenomenal. It was $15. $15 for a 4-pack, right? Is that what I paid? I think it was $15 for a 4-pack. That sounds about right. $15 for a 4-pack sounds about right. It was $60 for the 8. So the 8 2-packs, it was $60. So I paid good money. I was very happy with that. And for that, I'm going to completely redo my entire array of spare hardware, spare nuts, spare bolts, spare parts, and that is silicone, socks, nozzles, heat brakes, blocks. I'm now amassing Revo stuff and all of that. So now that we're starting to switch over to Revo on some of the machines, it is, obsidians versus regular nozzles, the sizes, they all go into bins. Because having a bunch of parts is so good. But if you can't find the dang parts, it doesn't matter. And I say this as someone that if I showed you my floor, the bulk of you would unsubscribe. It is so bad in here. There's so much shit all over the place because of how busy we've been. There's no real excuse for it other than I've been crazy busy and haven't had a chance to clean. And last night was the first time I slept for more than 3 hours, basically this whole week. To give you guys an idea of how busy it's been. It's been very busy. But hey, busy means the bills get paid, so I don't mind. I'm totally fine with that. Zombie Hedgehog says, ironically, I want to 3D print those big ones on printables. And do we have a print or buy episode? Great Scott has a series called DIY or Buy. And I love Great Scott. He's an electronics YouTuber. Absolutely love his content. He's a great guy. If you don't subscribe to him, go subscribe. One of the mods, if you can post his channel in the comments, that'd be great. Great Scott with 2 T's. He has a series called DIY or Buy where he looks at products that are off the shelf and he looks at DIYing a solution. And he does them both, and he tells you which, he believes is better and for what reasons. I am not a full-time YouTuber, and that means videos like that are not really possible for me. Right now, I've got 2 weeks worth of Wednesday videos backlogged, which means I finally get to do my 3D scanning videos, which is we've got a Revo Point Mini that I need to unbox and look at, which I did pay for, and a Shining 3D Einstar, which I did pay for as well, that I need to review. Oh, the Einstar one is crazy. That video is going to be interesting as hell, because Shining 3D is clearly going right after the Artec Eva, but I will tell you, right now it can't do it. So I'm really, really excited. I am working directly with programmers at Shining 3D to make this scanner better, and it is really, really cool. The only problem that I have is that they're on mainland China time, so it means this week has been great for me because I've been up and working, so I can also communicate to them at the same time. Shotgunner says, do I own an inversion table? He has multiple disc herniations, and the spine structuring helps a lot. I do, and my blood pressure is not great, and I can't be on an inversion table for more than about 15 seconds before I start to red out. And, yep. So I gotta be careful. And yes, Duff, that is the one. Thank you for doing that. But yeah, having those spare parts and being able to account for what that looks like is good. Now let's define the difference between rush and emergency, right? A rush order is someone that says, hey, can you get this done for me? I really need to get this fast. I swear to God, there's another one. Why? It's a Saturday. Can all the freaking call centers go home? Good Lord have mercy. Are any of them leaving me voicemails? No. They're all freaking spam calls. Insane. Either way, sorry. I'm upset. Maybe it's your pickup. It's not. Because my phone is telling me it's a scam. The pickup has my direct cell phone number and won't call the company. They'll call me. And they're coming at 3 o'clock anyways, which is in another hour. So we're fine. A rush order is someone that needs something fast, but might not necessarily be willing, or might not necessarily have to have it now. An emergency order is when you get called from a good customer, says, I need this and I need this now. Can you do this? Yeah. Yeah, Asha says, Jesus, don't give yourself a stroke. Well, that's why the better 3/4 is here to help. I don't go on the inversion table without her because she needs to help me a lot of times get back up. Because, yeah. Anyways, I love inversion tables. I just can't use them because they're, blood pressure. Which is funny because I have normal blood pressure, but upside down, I guess I don't. Emergency orders for me are when we get calls from local hospitals where they desperately need something for a, like a pre-surgery prep model. That's an emergency. And I will call, if I need to push a different order, I will call the customer and say, hey, we got a phone call from a local hospital. Your part has the longest lead time on it right now. It appears that you are not in a rush. Is this true? And they'll say yes or no. If they say, yes, I'm actually in a rush, I need to get it on this day. Okay, no problem. If I do need to push you, I will let you know. And so I'll hang up the phone with them and I'll call the next person. So that will be the next one that is due the soonest. And say, okay, same deal. And eventually someone normally says, yeah, it's no problem. I say, cool. I'm going to cut you 10%. Thank you for helping me out. I'll cut you 10%. We do the hospital job. And I go back to writing their job again. And they get a 10% or 15, 20%, whatever I'm feeling that day. If it's a new client, I might kick them a little bit more. Because, again, You want to manage those expectations. You also want to manage your clients. We talked about this before, the 80-20 rule, which is that the top 20% or the 20% of your clients take 80% of your time. And I believe every year, those clients that take more of your time than they are valued at should be pushed away. And it's time for you to find a new client. Because at some point, you're spending a lot of time and you're not making a lot of money. And if your goal is to grow your business and you only have 24 hours in a day, and no matter how many potentially illicit drugs you may choose to use, legal or otherwise, you will not be able to stay up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365.25 days a year because accuracy matters. You won't be able to do it. You'll die. You'll functionally die. And to get through that, you have to realize that at some point, you have to fire the customer. To grow your business, you must have less customers. It's a really, really weird thing. It's why we're building the Making Awesome Academy. I love working with inventors, but damn it, they are some of the worst clientele for us to work with. They need their hands held all the time. And I love helping inventors, but I can't help inventors all the time because by and large, they don't have the money to afford my time. But if they go to somebody else, and there's not a lot of options out there for product development that are going to help you the way that we do, they're going to get screwed. And I hate seeing that. So we're designing a learning management platform that allows them to learn at their own pace with videos that I've done, with weekly live streams that'll be private. I will record them. Maybe we'll turn it into content. I don't know yet, but there'll be private live streams when they occur. And then they can ask me those specific questions once a week. And the goal is I am defining the amount of time that I have to give to this client base. I love inventors. I'm an inventor myself. But I recognize that if you don't know how this works, it is a valley of shadow and death. That is product development. And so I recognize that to fulfill the needs of those customers, I must also fulfill my needs as a business. The camera's shifted up. It's weird. I must also fulfill my needs as a business. And that means either I have to offload the talking to somebody else on the staff. And currently, we don't really have anybody that talks as good as I do or is available, right? A lot of our staff have day jobs. They're 1099 independent contractors. I'd love to have W-2s, but shit happens. Has been the best couple of years. We're getting there. So that means it's normally my time. For me to handle those situations, I have to, well, kind of limit the amount of time that I spend with inventors, right? You can go to our website right now. You can click the contact, and then you can click the book a initial consultation button. It doesn't look like a button. It is. And that lets you book time directly in my calendar, not anybody else's calendar, my calendar. Do have a 15-minute meeting. I think it might be 25. I don't know. It's less than a half-hour meeting. And I do my best to cut those meetings right at their scheduled time because, I want to respect my time. I want to respect their time as well. After that, we put people under a, hey, meetings start to cost money. It's not the nicest thing to do. But for us to survive as a business, for me to have time to take care of current jobs, for me to be able to make YouTube videos, for me to be able to do all of these things, those are concessions that have to be made. The Making Awesome Academy solves all of those problems for me. That's why we're doing it. Shotgunner says the opposite also helps a lot. Some weights on your... Oh, they're talking about inversion tables. Weights on my legs, dip bar, stair rails accomplish the same thing. I don't have any of those things, but I have trees, so Probably just do that. That might be really weird. Cars driving by, see me hanging in a tree with weights on my legs. That might get some people to stop. That's morbid. Anyways, managing those expectations again is kind of a big deal. And you have to be able to plan for failure. For this job, I made a few of the parts more than once. They have mullions. They're columns, basically. They have a lot of them. I printed all of them twice. Now, they're going to get just one set, and I might give them a few extras that are really delicate, but I printed all of them twice. Because those have, hilariously, the highest chance of failure. Because they're really, really tiny. They're really, really thin. So I said, it's an hour-long print. I'll print 2 sets. And then that way, if they have problems, I don't get a phone call at 6 p.m. on a Sunday. Hey, can we get another one of these? We need this. We need it now. I provide them with the spares. Makes life easier on all parties involved. As I've said in videos before, if you like it, then you should put a brim on it. This one has a 10 millimeter brim all the way around. And most of the bottom of this part is all support material. And that was done to ensure that the stairs print properly. Of all things, was done for the freaking stairs. But hey, that's the way it works. Understanding how to orient your parts so you can limit your print time is also very valuable. But also understanding the needs of the client so that you orient the parts so that they fit their needs. There's 3 parts right there. Those are 3 separate prints. There's a bottom print. You can actually see the seam right there. They're not glued together. They're just on top of each other. That bottom part, I was really going to print vertical because I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. There's a pattern. Yeah, it's not. There's a checkerboard pattern here. And that checkerboard pattern is present on every one of the parts. And I was going to print that part vertically, this part vertically, and one of the others vertically so that those checkerboard patterns would have the exact same orientation on the Z-axis of the printer. The client said, we don't care about that. It's no big deal. Fine. Then I went ahead and reoriented the parts so that they printed the fastest. I started with what is best for the client. I gave them options, and then we opted that it really wasn't that big of a deal to them. So, sometimes it makes sense. Communication is key. With anything like this, communication is key. If you don't think you're going to be able to do the job, or it's a high-risk job for you, tell them. Don't lie to them. Don't say you can do it and then not do it. Be real, be upfront, be honest, be human. But what if you do have a print failure and shit does hit the fan? What happens then? What do you do? You got to be honest. Last night, they called me and they said, hey, are we good for tomorrow? I said, I don't know. He's like, well, I can see your parts. They're printing just fine. I said, yep, they are. They're printing just fine right now. But there is still time between now and tomorrow morning about, here, I can tell you when they finish because I got the alert from MakerDeck. God, I love MakerDeck. It's so great. If you're not a part of MakerDeck, fix that shit now. Let's see. I got a notification at 6:45 a.m. that both of my parts were done, which was pretty cool. I think because the time-lapse one should have finished first, and the other one finished, but they alerted me when both of the parts were done. And when I woke up, I checked the cameras. Yep, parts look great. Okay, text the client, hey, we can do this. We're good. And MakerDeck is nice for that. It is your crowdsourced spaghetti detection. And I laugh because I use my editing PC to stream. So it's like a ridiculous computer to stream a freaking webcam. It's so stupid. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing. Ostrike says, Alex Hormozzi talks about guarding your attention when your business grows large. There's this thing that talks about working on your job versus in your job, or on your business versus in your business. That is one of the killers for business growth. It'll be very clear when I'm working in my business versus on. When I don't sleep a lot, I'm working in my business because we have a lot of stuff to do and I don't have a lot of local staff that have the availability to help. So I'm working in it. When I am doing YouTube videos, when I am doing Making Awesome Academy work, when I'm fixing the website, when I'm looking at how to ensure the future of this company, I am working on my business. And I literally every single day, I block out at least 3 hours in my calendar to work on my business rather than in it. Because if I don't do that, I'm never going to get time to work on my business. Does that mean our lead times have gone up? Yep, it does. It means our lead times have gone up. But I am managing those expectations. Clients that are used to getting parts next day said, hey, just so you're aware, we are running longer lead times, and this is going to be consistent for us moving forward. They ask why. I said, well, I've been neglecting to really work on the business, and I've been focusing on trying to get parts out as quickly as I can, and I have been letting some things go that I shouldn't. And being straight honest, it works great. Zombie says that they've streamed with their DSLR on there, and it looks so nice. I just use a C922 webcam because it's what I have. My DSLR, that one, is a true DSLR. It does not film video, but we did recently get a Sony A7 II from a very, very generous patron, so thank you very much. You know who you are. I greatly appreciate it. And if you saw the Thursday, what wasn't a time-lapse, but the Thursday was supposed to be time-lapse, it was all filmed on this camera. So the pictures, the video, all that was filmed on this camera. So I am very, very thankful to have it. And in fact, if y'all haven't noticed, we've been reusing the same thumbnail images for a while now. We are going to be redoing some new thumbnail photos coming up. So stay tuned because those are going to be, I have 6 different outfits picked out for those thumbnails. We're going to have crazy shirts and all that. Duff says, do you have a process for vetting fake rush jobs, or is it just called charge a premium? I will ask. Right? If someone says, hey, I need this now. Great example. We denied a job. Earlier this week, and it was a team thing. I went to the team and said, I think I want to deny this job. What do you guys think? And I believe the individual watches the channel now, but I told him the exact reason, so I don't mind talking about it. This individual wanted a Shredder costume. Shredder from, I believe, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But he wanted, the full-size costume, right? Fully 3D printed and all of that. The guy lives up in Panhandle, about 4 hours each way. He got the files from DO3D. DO3D does not, or at least on that one, did not include a scale factor. This individual, I asked him, do you go to the gym? What are how big are your arms? How big are your legs? What are your measurements? Right? Because if you happen to be a little swole, but you're 150 pounds of solid muscle versus 150 pounds of skinny dude, those are going to be different, factors. And I said, well, the right way to do this is to scan you and then print it out. I said, but send me the files. Let me see what we're looking at in terms of prints, and let's go from there. He sends me the files, and as it was, we were looking at about 15 days of 24/7 printing on 3 printers. Okay, that's a lot of printing. He needed it in 10 days. I said, dude, no offense, but I can't touch this job unless you've got at least $5,000 to play with. Like, there's no chance. I said, you could probably find someone who's willing to do it for less than me, but I've got work right now that I can't really move around to get this job done. I said, if you got $5,000, I will get you an official quote. We'll put a hold on a card. I'll get you an official quote, and we'll go from there. He said, nah, man, I really don't want to spend more than about $1,000. I said, I'll get you a quote if you really want it, but but I'll tell you, it's going to be way over 1,000 because there's just no way for me to do it reliably. I said, but let me talk with my team. Let me see if they think there's some trickery that we can pull to make it work. So I called a team meeting, got the people together that could get together. We talked about it. We all collectively agreed that there was no way reasonably that we were able to do it. It just wasn't going to happen. So I called the guy back and I let him know. He appreciated the hell out of it. I gave him some options as to how he might be able to solve this issue. There's a competitor of ours in the Midwest that has like 95 printers that has historically destroyed my pricing. Like they're way cheaper than me. But my quality is way better than them. So I said, maybe they'll be able to help you out. I don't know. So I gave him their information and sent him on his way. He had a rush, but he wasn't willing to pay the rush fees. It's totally fine. That's normally how we deal with rush. I charge a rush fee if and only if they're okay with the rush fee and they understand it. Say, okay, your job is going to be a minimum of $1,000. So why is it that expensive? Well, because you need it in a day. And it's 4 days worth of printing. Like, I can only work so much magic here. Just be real with them. Well, it's not that important. Okay. Well, it's not really a rush then, is it? When do you actually need it? Then we figure out when they need it. So that pricing a lot of times weeds out the people that don't really need a rush versus the ones that do. But then again, I've said this before, 3D Musketeers is not really positioned to be a B2C company. We don't really do a lot of business with the general public. We do business with businesses that totally understand that there are rush fees. They totally understand that I'm going to have to work like 18 hours a day for quite a few days to get their project done. And in the event that something does fail, I'm not sleeping over the weekend. And they understand that has value, and they're willing to pay for it because they recognize what this would cost them to do on their own. They're outsourcing it because they don't want to do it on their own. So they do. That's what I do. Take that with a grain of salt. Duff says we get those all the time, and turns out they don't need work done for a month or so. Yep. Now, I will say, the people, if you want to learn about how to deal with rush jobs or how to figure out if someone really needs a rush, contact a septic company. Septic systems and anything involving sewage, those people know how to figure out whether or not you actually have an emergency, right? Is your toilet clogged, or are you actively backing up raw sewage into your house? If your toilet is clogged, it's not an emergency. If you are actively backing up raw sewage through the drains in your house, well, that is an emergency, and that does warrant an emergency. There's another damn call. They all say spam likely. I do not get it. Don't get it. Lightspeed says, I am that guy. I always tell people that I'm in a hurry because I fear people don't value deadlines like I do. No, I think if you give people distinct deadlines, and if they don't meet your deadlines, then either one, you have to reassess and readjust your deadlines, or two, find somebody that does. If you don't work with people that value your deadlines, then you're working with the wrong people. Straight up. Simple as that. Ostrich says, is my mother on spam likely? No, my mother actually watches these. So she knows that if she calls me, I will answer the phone for my mother. Like if a family member calls, I will text them and say, hey, is everything okay? And if they say no, I'll kill the stream and I'll go work with them, or I'll put it on like BRB. I believe I can do that easily. Nope, not on this one. It's on another one of the OBS backgrounds. Jimmy says I should answer the call with you're live on YouTube on speakerphone. You know what? What the hell? If we get another one, I'll do it. But normally there's nobody on the other line. It's normally just a deadline. Worst Peter says, I've had consulting jobs where my job was to fail. Okay. My client just needed someone to shift the blame to. I made clear that it isn't possible to to complete, got hired regardless, and charged 3x my rate. Sometimes corporate structures create weird incentives, like hiring a third party to fail at an emergency task. Can I find companies like that? I would love to get paid to fail. Shit, I am so good at failing. I would love that job. Where's Peter? Send me those people. That's a really, really cool, that's a really cool business thing. Ostrike says, do you find that managing employees / contractors can eat up as much time as doing it yourself? It seems it's only worth investing if they can stick with you long term. Yeah. Sometimes it is. Now, with interns, I know that we're taking on that extra risk. I know that we're taking on that extra work, and I'm okay with it because they don't get paid the same rate that regular staff members do. And because of that, my time is instead utilized. Now, I will praise our team. Our engineering team, when they are available, are absolute knock out of the park, amazing people. But a lot of them have very little time these days. Their day jobs are taking up their time. Home life might be a little bit different. And one of them is suffering from the long human malware, who is our lead on a few things. So he's been down for the count. We actually just brought on another charismatic engineer. Thank God for finding more charismatic engineers. If you are a charismatic engineer and you are looking for contract work, slide into those DMs, if you will. But we brought on another one, and they are like immediately picking up some of the slack that we have. I am not the greatest designer. There are some products that I can do completely myself, and I don't even have to involve the team. If I've got the time, I will absolutely do it because, oh yeah, I make more money doing it that way because I don't have to pay the team. Sorry guys, you all know that's how business works. But yes, it can be very challenging dealing with people. And when you are looking at growing to bringing on a staff member, that is a whole different, honestly, that's a whole different talk. And you know, honestly, it's probably a whole different talk with one of our staff. And it would be Tad. If I was going to bring on anyone for this, it would be Tad. And we would talk about how we met, you know, what the working relationship is like, how I just kind of say, here's your project, Tad. Here's the client. Good luck. A lot of times with our staff, I don't want to be the middleman. With some of our staff, they don't want to communicate directly with clients. That's fine. I understand. I will be the middleman. But if they are okay with communicating direct with clients, I prefer that. And I will pay them better for it. Because, again, less of my time means I can spend my time doing something else. Opportunity cost. And if that time to me is better spent relaxing, then it's better spent relaxing. See, I don't relax a lot. Those that know me know I don't really take a lot of time for myself. That has been incredibly detrimental on my physical and mental health. Those of you that have been in this situation before where you're working really long hours constantly and you don't pay yourself, you know that it kind of sucks. Sucks a lot. But this is part of growth. That's part of it. Duff says that repeat rush violators just lose that priority. Yep. Yep. Totally true. Oh, Duff is hopping into skid steer and don't want to accidentally delete any comments. See you later, Duff. Thanks for hanging out, dude. I appreciate it. H.A. Royal says, I just started hitting answer, then set my phone next to my laptop while I play terrible music. They get a little upset that I'm wasting their time. That's funny when the scam callers get upset that I'm wasting their time. It's funny how that works. Zombie Hedgehog says, what do I need? I need people that are fluent in Fusion 360 that have paid accounts because we utilize the cloud service. So you must have access to the cloud service. You must know what you're doing. You must be over the age of 18 and you must be willing to sign a pretty blanket non-disclosure agreement because we don't talk about the jobs that we do unless I approve that we can talk about them or the client does. The next decade says, yo, been really enjoying your videos. They've been a great help improving my workflow, printing, and work-wise. Wanted to say thank you for your help, sharing your advice. Thank you. I appreciate the nice comments. I like to do these solo episodes. I've been enjoying them more recently, but I am going to try to get some guests on for these coming weeks. I thanks to Dom, Geek Toy Box, he recommended someone that I should reach out to do a imposter syndrome chat with, and I totally will. That'll be a dope ass chat if I can get this guy. But I will be putting out a tweet either later today or tomorrow about, what do you guys want to see for upcoming podcast episodes? What guests do you want to see? I know we are still trying to get Joel Telling on. Joel wants to come on. We've talked about this. Joel is very busy at the moment, does not have a free weekend to do it. But when Joel finally settles down from all the traveling that he's doing, we are going to book the full Joel. Next second says, I have a paid Fusion account. I'm okay-ish, though. Still practicing it, but my first model I put out in the world. Look, everyone's got to start somewhere. If you don't have a paid Fusion account and you're still learning, it's totally fine. Continue on the free account. That's what it's there for. Learn. If it is something that you think you might want to do, email me. youtube@3dmusketeers.com. It goes directly into my personal inbox. Does not go to anybody else on the staff. It goes directly to me. I will look at the files. I will work with you, and I'll take some time to talk with you. That's what we do here. Right? I give my time to you guys because, one, I love doing these videos. They're a lot of fun to me. But two, if I have the time, I'd rather donate it to the community instead of sitting around twiddling my thumbs. So, I like you guys. Y'all are kind of cool. The most of you. So, yeah. Oh, Zombie says, ironically, I might need to switch to Fusion 360 depending on what the free Onshape license includes. Free Onshape license does not allow you to have private models, so it is no bueno, homie. The client just emailed me, the one who flew to Puerto Rico, said, how are the prints? I said, all done, pickup setup for 3 p.m. So I replied to him real quick for that. So yeah, dealing with staffing problems is another one of those issues. And again, requires you to manage client expectations. If the people aren't going to help you and you can't do it yourself, you have taken on the wrong work. Any jobs right now that we are taking, I am able to do myself. I don't want to. It's a lot of work for me. So instead, I just have the team. I like it. It's fun. But if they're busy for some reason, well, then I do it. I'm okay with that. Next, I guess, says, rolling back to the office. I'll catch the rest later and email you soon. Thanks again, dude. Thank you. Good luck. Working on a weekend. Keep burning that oil. You know how it goes. So let me see if there's any topics that we missed here. I want to make sure that we always cover our topics before we knock it out. Oh, yeah. Spare machines and how many? Which ones? All right. According to the Bamboo Lab Facebook group, I'm a Prusa fanboy, a Prusa shill, and all manner of terrible things. I am a Prusa fanboy. I am not a Prusa shill. I sincerely wish I was. I wish they paid me. Although I have some massive trolling that's coming soon, so I am excited for the trolling. I might have a very large banner that I got from the East Coast Rep Festival that they were going to toss that is probably 8 feet by 4 feet, somewhere in that range. That's a big printables banner. I'm going to hang it on the standing set. And I have one from E3D as well they left behind. Horse Peter says angry DPT noises. Oh, God. Prusa pays me to say I'm not a Prusa shill. No, they don't. They don't. I wish they did. Although I did get to meet Joe, and that was a lot of fun. Anyways. Machines and spare machines. What machines are you running in your shop? Have a spare one, at least. Right? We have a spare Prusa. It sits under my set. It sits under the standing set. Eventually, it will be an upgrade. Right? It's going to get the Quinley kit. And when it does, it is going to need a replacement. So we are going to replace it with another one. My hope is by the time that I do that Quinley live stream, I really owe that to them. I feel like a dick for not having that done. And I'm looking at the box. But schedules are schedules, and there's nothing I can do about it. It is starting to get cooler out now, so I am much more inclined to do live streams than I was previously. So, there's that value to it too. My mother just messaged me if I was live. I am. So it's funny since we were talking about that it was my mom calling me earlier. It was not. See, she asks if I'm live. My mom is smart about these things. She knows better. Oh, she says she's listening. Hi, Mom. Say hi to my mom, everybody, in the comments. My mom is listening. Oh, but wait. If she's just there, you're a little bit behind. But that's fine. Yeah, so if you are running Enders and you're running upgraded Enders, then you should have a spare upgraded Ender. Now, I will say, if you have found a way to run Enders in a print farm business scenario and you're doing it effectively, I would have, and because of their price, I would have at least 2 spares, right? One that you use for parts, and then another one that you have ready to go when you need it. Hell, I might even have more. And with some of these companies that are offering these refurb machines, the ones that are really, really cheap, like $100 Ender 3s, that's not a bad move. But I think having an Ender 3 as a machine in your print farm, I think that's the bad move to begin with. So, yeah. Lightspeed says, I spent a few hours with Joe. He's a good dude, but I think the fear over how Bamboo will impact their sales is real. I am not able to comment on that, but I can tell you it is nowhere near as much as you think. Joe is upset with them because of their GPL issues and all of that. This is competition, baby. I've said it once and I'll say it again. If Bamboo can be what AMD was to Intel when Ryzen first came out, I will love this. Right? Look at what we've seen in the past 7 years or 6 years, 5 years? I don't know. The last few years for processors. Intel was stagnating, right? There was not a lot of movement on their series of processors. They were incremental changes to their processors. Then Ryzen comes out, and all of a sudden Intel has to pull their shit together. I'm expecting similar. If Bamboo Lab can keep up of doing amazing things, they're delivering on time, which is insane to me right now. All of that stuff. If they can keep that up and actually legitimately support their hardware and do a good job, then Prusa should be worried. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what competition is. If anyone thinks the Mark 3S is a top-of-the-line printer with top-of-the-line electronics, you're wrong. It's not designed to be. It's a workhorse. It is designed to work. It is designed to print every single time, exactly what you give it, every single time. And they do that every single time. That's why I like them. That's why I love them. That's why I print them. But I don't know if I'm buying more Mark 3Ss. I think I'm going to wait for what the successor to the Mark 3S will be, and I'll buy minis in the meantime. Worst Peter says, I gotta go. I will see you later. Have a good one, dude. Lightspeed says, I love Voron. I love Prusa, but I also love Voron, Rat, Rig, and well, everything. I love 3D printers. I do. But I have my ties to certain companies, not financially, although, God, I've spent a lot of money with Prusa. I've spent well over $20,000 with Prusa Research, which, for a small company is a lot of money. And I laughed. The joke with Print and Solid was so great where he said that I funded his kitchen. I said, no, that was Prusa. That was beautiful. And Dave said off camera that caught him off guard. And that was just beautiful. I loved that. Yeah, that was good stuff. Zombie Hedgehog says I should see the KP3S print farm. That's the Kingroon KP3S, right? I want to take a look at that. And I want to look at some of these more affordable machines. I think some middleman is sending me a longer LK4X. I forget what the hell it's called. But yeah, longer LK4X. Yeah, I think a middleman is sending me one of those. Joel told me to be wary of them, but I didn't sign any contracts. So we'll take a look and see what they have to say. But, the SV06 from Soval, that machine looks really good. The Elegoo Neptune 3, that machine looks really good. There are a lot of machines out there that look really good for the money, but are they going to be as reliable? I don't know. But what they won't have, one, is this call to action to like the stream. Damn it, that's so good. But two, they won't have the support that Prusa does. That's one of the big things, right? They won't have the support that Prusa does. It's why I like Prusas. They support their machines through and through. All right, let's see what else we got here. Grant, can I drop you an email about the electronics of the politician? I got some ideas. Sure. Yes, you can. Although I think you're already gone. But yes, you can drop me. So you can drop me an email. By the way, if anybody has contacts to local machine shops around you that are good, small businesses, I don't want any big businesses, I want small businesses. I am looking to outsource some of the, I'm looking to make some parts for the politician out of billet. LDO is one of the companies on that list that I'm reaching out to. I needed to wait for Jason to get back, but we are going to be talking about that this coming week privately to see if LDO wants to produce some of the parts for the politician, because it's just milling. I just need some milling. AJ Royale says, what do you do about spare filament? Mainly, if your normal brand is out of stock, how do you replace it with an equal quality that matches what the customer typically gets? I keep inventory. Behind me, in the racks, are 96 kilograms worth of spools. These gray spools, are leftovers from a client project. The parts are 488 grams each, and so those are all the bits left over from the spools. I always hold inventory. I have been waiting for Design White to come back in stock. So once, I think it is back in stock now, I'm going to order probably 3 or 4 kilos of it. Enough to get free shipping, because you know your boys got to get the free shipping. But yeah, I have a lot of inventory. You don't see the 20 kilos piled here or the 50 kilos in the other room that's next to me of just straight inventory. A lot of clients don't care too much about, a lot of clients don't care about their colors. Some do, some don't. If they don't care, I'll grab whatever random PLA I got, assuming they need PLA, or if they want PETG, whatever PETG I randomly got. And a lot of times if they don't care about the price, I'll cut them a better deal, because it means I don't have to deal with it. Sorry. How to reply to somebody. What else do we got here? Oh, so for colors that are ordered often, gray, black, white, blue, red. I keep at least 4 to 5 kilos of those on hand at all times. PETG black, I have 10 kilogram rolling inventory. So when I dip below 5, I order 5 more. So I always have, generally speaking, between 5 and 10 kilos to spare on hand. If I'm going to talk to the architecture company when they come and pick up the parts, if they are expecting more orders, I'm going to order more white so that they have it. So it's there for them. But if you find colors not being ordered very often, don't carry a big inventory. But if a client does order a shiny gold that you don't carry and they need it immediately, you need to, as quickly as you can, say, give me a second, I don't stock that color, let me see how quick I can get it. Okay, it looks like I can get it in 2 days, assuming Amazon gets their shit together. Is that going to work for you? I can start this project in 2 days. If the answer is no, then hey, help them find somebody who can, right? So, something about that. There's a guy doing the positron machine parts kits who might be able to mill your parts. That's true. They might be able to do that. Back. Duff says, you should. It's a solid machine firmware. Upgrade linear rails. See, when someone says it's a solid machine, the K3PS is a KSP3, I don't know, Kingaroon printer, is a good printer after a firmware update. I don't want it. I don't want to have to update my firmware when I buy a printer. I don't want to do that. I want something that just freaking works. I just want something that works. I don't have to deal with bullshit. And if it is not easy to update the firmware, I'm out, right? Like some Crealities, you can just load it on the SD card. It works. For the Prusa Minis, you put it on the USB. For the Mark IIIS, you plug it in. But for the for all those machines, there is a dedicated way to flash the firmware. If it's a complicated way, then it's not going to work. Ooh, hey, we've got a spam caller. Good afternoon, 3D Musketeers. You are live on YouTube. How can I help you? Good afternoon, 3D Musketeers. You are live on YouTube. How can I help you? No? That's what I thought. Yeah, they're generally just complete dead lines. So there you go. See? There's nobody there. They're dead lines. Okay. Where am I at? I keep losing track of the damn chat here. I doubt Prusa is really worried about Bamboo Lab. Shotgunner says, will push more innovation. Yes, but they are not the same size company-wise. This is true. I agree with what Lightspeed says, that support is going to likely be their downfall. And that's why I'm giving them time to figure it out. They have done a great job on delivering machines on time. Now they have to support them. If they're able to do that, then I think we're set. If they can't, well, then we're going to have some problems. Okay. Let's see what else we got going on here. Just, Anners said, I just hopped in. Honestly, it's a bit of a stressor barrier for me is navigating taxes, especially if I'm shipping stuff out of state. Use an invoicing system. We use Xero, Xero. That is an accounting software with invoicing built in. I preferred QuickBooks, but my accountant uses Xero, so I'm now using Xero too. If you are going into business and you are shipping out of state, get an accountant. It is worth the money. Get a bookkeeper, get an accountant. If you don't know how to do your taxes, do not leave it up to chance. Get a professional, do it for you. It is the easiest money I spend every month. I do not care. It is worth its weight in gold for me to be able to sleep comfortably at night, knowing I'm not going to have one of the A words from a 3-letter organization. You don't say those things because that's how they end up happening. Keep yourself above board. Make sure you do your taxes correctly. Don't cheat the tax man. Remember, Al Capone was not caught and jailed for being a gangster. He was caught and jailed for evading taxes. Remember that one. Zombie Hedgehog says, honestly, Polymaker has been amazing with US stock. I am warming up to Polymaker. I like Nick, I like Polymaker, but I do prefer to support USA companies when I can. It's a personal thing. I love that Nick really does support the community, and there are some products coming up that I'll be reaching out to Polymaker to support, but I'm also going to reach out to Printed Solid first. I really like Dave. I love Printed Solid, and in fact, spoiler alert, in 2 weeks, you all are going to see a tour of Printed Solid that I was able to do without any supervision whatsoever. We were given free reign of Printed Solid to film effectively whatever we wanted, show how the filament is made, and talk about the entire situation. It's pretty cool. We were not the only ones that got to do that. So you're going to see videos from a few creators that got to do it. But I really like Printed Solid. I like Dave. I like his filament. I like that he supported now one of our staff members via the Make-A-Wish Foundation and allowed him to make his own custom color, which is Brad's Orange, where $1 of every spool is donated to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So go buy some Brad's Orange. I do like Nick, though. He's coming out with a ton of colors. His filament is great. I'm not a huge fan of Polyterra. I've talked about this before. It's got a high density. It's 1.31 grams per cubic centimeter. And honestly, it's soft, and I don't understand why. Although I know Zombie, the Galaxy Dark Blue, which I have a few kilos of it, is really nice, and I agree. I did get some Polylite PETG, and the spools behind me there are the Polylite PLA Pro, the gray. It printed beautifully. Absolutely beautifully. And with how often Nick does sales for 50% off, yeah, I'll buy it when it's 50% off. No problem. I will spend $300 after 50% off with you. No problem. No problem at all. Zombie says at this point I'm running Clipper. He said it's very frustrating with the stock firmware. It's just Marlin, so update to what you need. See, I don't want to do that. I want a printer that just works. And for a business, that's what I need. I need a printer that just works. Mitch 3D says, Chris Basement Raid. Did Chris's basement raid into us? If so, hi. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. If not, also, if you don't know who Chris's basement is, Chris Riley, go follow him. Chris's basement over on YouTube. We talked about him on the Friday video, which is pretty cool. Oh, okay. Nero posted his tour today. Take a look. You might see yours truly in that video. Cool. I'm so glad. I didn't know when everyone was going to post it, but there were a few of us that got invited out to Printed Solids. So I'm going to go to Nero's channel and make sure that I watch it because I think that I'm in that video. It was a lot of fun. Anner says the colors Polyterra are great and they do like the matte finish, but yeah, it's a lot weaker than PLA. Not sure if that was my print settings. Nope. It's just the way that it's the way that it's been. Filament Stories, who, honestly, if you're going to get someone that's going to tell you about Filament, it's going to be Courtney, says that they speculate PHA is in the Polyterra to make it as soft as it is, although they have nothing to back that up other than comparative feels of the filaments. And yeah, you're going to be the person I trust for that. I would say have multiple sources for your filaments, right? We order from Printed Solid is our first, Atomic is the fallback, then we go to 3DX Tech for all of our exotics, and then fourth is just whatever I can find on Amazon. And fourth is probably now going to be Polymaker, and then it will go to Amazon because they do make good filament. It prints really, really well. But definitely make sure that you have fallbacks. And if there are colors, like I love the design white. It is one of my favorite colors that Printed Solid does because it is amazing for architecture models. It is absolutely amazing for architecture models. But, like, I love Brad's orange, even though it clogs nozzles more often than I prefer. I love, you know, even some of their crazier colors, right? Their purple ice is gorgeous. Like, this color is freaking gorgeous. That's their purple ice, a translucent purple. That's a beautiful color. So Printed Solid makes great colors, and a lot of companies do, right? But at some point, you got a lot of colors, and you just got to choose. But again, keep the basic colors in stock. If you have a customer that says, hey, I'm going to be, like, we have a client that orders black PETG parts. They've ordered about $2,000 a month worth of these parts. So $2,000 worth of those parts is quite a few kilograms. So I keep an entire stock of black PETG just for them. Just for them. Nobody else, just them. Because, hey, it's the brand they want. It's, you know, everything they want with it. Fine. I will stock it for you. No problem. Geek Torba says that they haven't used Atomic. It's great filament. I love it. AJ Royal says 3D Fuel. I have used 3D Fuel. I don't mind it. I prefer Printed Solid. Printed Solid is really affordable. $22 a kilo or less. Come on. It's so great. Anyways, any final thoughts, guys? Let me know if you have any final comments before we wrap this one up regarding growth. I know we always get off track because I get segmented into the comments, but we had wrapped this up a while ago. Are there any further questions that you guys have about growing, scaling, about dealing with rush orders, last minutes, anything like that? Let me know what you guys have to ask, because otherwise we're going to wrap this bad boy up. Anner says running out of white, black, or gray is nightmare fuel. They ran to a micro center once and cleared them out of their clear PETG for an order once, like 10 spools. Yeah, screw you guys at local micro centers. If you have a local micro center, that is a great backup. It was previously eSun, but they are switching over to Polymaker as their OEM. So if you like Polymaker filament and you want to get it on the shelf, you can get it at Micro Center. You can also get Protopasta and a few others. I am trying out Protopasta. I really like their filament. It is very expensive. So I want to work with them on a few projects and maybe try to get like some materials for sponsorships for time lapses and that kind of thing. But like, I wish more of my clients ordered fun colors, because then I would order more stuff from Protopasta, because their colors are gorgeous, but they're expensive, and I'm not going to stock it unless we have a need for it. If that makes sense. Dan says, if you need any help printing over the pound, DM me for any infos. I have no idea what that means, but send me a message, Dan, and we can talk. Yeah, I think that's going to call it, guys. Thank you all for coming out. I hope I answered everybody's questions. Appreciate you all for asking them. And thank you to, was it Ostrike? I want to make sure I get the name right for the super chat earlier. Yes. Thank you, Ostrike, for the $10 super chat earlier. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the channel. Oh, you mean locally in Europe? Yes, absolutely. Having people outside of your country to pick up the support for you is absolutely amazing. So make sure you have people to help out with that. But yeah, guys, that is all that I got. AJ Royal, I am the same way. I don't live near 3D printing stores. The closest Micro Center is a 15-hour round-trip drive to me. That's all I got for you guys today. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making it awesome. Season 3, Episode 6, which puts us at quite a few episodes. Oh, wait. I'm getting a wait, please. Wait, please. Anna says, wait, please. What do you got? Hit me, because I got stuff to do. What are you doing? Waiting for Anners to comment. Saying, wait, please. What do you... Oh, okay, they did say, starting out, where is it best to advertise? Don't. Word of mouth. Word of mouth is the best way that you can advertise. If you are dealing with a specific niche for some reason, then you can, try to find those groups and be involved in those groups. But if you are just generally trying to do 3D printing for people, word of mouth is the best way. Print for friends, print for family, have them write some good reviews. Go into Facebook groups, go on to Reddit, like your local Reddit communities. If you're going after businesses, local engineering firms around you are probably the best place to start. Know, what are you good at, right? Are you an engineer at heart? Are you a mechanical engineer? Go find mechanical engineering firms. See if they need 3D printing. Do you live in a port city that might have a lot of manufacturing? Go find the injection molding facility. See if they need prototyping assistance. Be warned, they can be a bit of a bear. That's a personal thing. And you said you had another one. Oh, hey, here's a phone call coming in. Another scam likely. Screw it. Good afternoon, 3D Musketeers. You are live on YouTube. How can I help you? Good afternoon, 3D Musketeers. You are live on YouTube. How can I help you? No? Okay. Every time. Deadlines. They said that Anders is considering breaking into printer repair, tutoring even more so. I appreciate it. Anders, email me. I will connect you with someone. Her name is Beverly. They own Ecovate 3D in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. They have a retail 3D printing space. Beverly can likely assist you in understanding your local markets, but I will tell you, someone that started 3D printing in retail, but I did it many moons ago. It was very complicated. I hate repairing printers. I definitely don't sell printers because it's a monumental pain in the ass to support them. Tutoring is fine and all of that, but you have to remember that every single person is different. Every single person has a different level of understanding, and because of that, they may not get it as quickly as you think. We do private classes for people that want it. I do it at my second office that we have in Wesley Chapel, but it is not something that I do often, and I charge a lot of money for it. We charge $150 a head. Unless we can get 10 people. If we can get 10 people, then I charge $100 a head. So the idea is that we have a class of 10, maybe 15 people max. We cap it at 15. And we go through individually, help you guys out with your printers and everything like that. We've never had 10 people to one of those classes. I only ever get like 1 or 2 max. But I don't do them often because it's a waste of my time. And a lot of times, it's an education thing where I can just point them to my YouTube channel and say, you're dealing with this. Look at the Print Fix Friday series, and you'll see a lot of answers to your problems. So yeah, guys, I think that will cover it. I think I got Anna's problems. Hopefully I did. If not, Anna, shoot me an email, set up some time, book some time on my calendar. We'll talk privately. But that is all I have for you guys today. I gotta go because I got a meeting in 8 minutes. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones for the second time. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one.